Today on Locked On Suns, 48 hours from the trade deadline, less by the time you hear this, and the tables have turned very quickly for the Suns. Is it Jimmy Butler or a teardown? We'll talk about it next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this Wednesday. T-minus 1 day until the NBA trade deadline. Don't forget Locked On Suns, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the Gametime app, the best place to buy any ticket. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA when you do to get $20 off your first purchase. Joining me from Chandler, Arizona, it is my fellow Suns credentialed media member from New Orleans. We're both in very, very different environments than normal. How are we feeling on this Wednesday, Ben Garcia?
New Orleans is really humid. That's the best I can give to you. I'm okay.
Chandler's not.
Is it cold over there?
It is hot. It is like in some states, I think they would call what we're feeling summer. So, yeah.
Really? Yeah, it's
like 78 degrees or something right now.
The humidity is like whatever to me until I got here, and it's cold, right? Or it's cooler. And so it's still, I was sweating a little bit today, and I was like, what the heck is this? But all's well ends well, unless you're the Phoenix Suns, of course. So,
yeah, let's get into it.
What a turn of events we have. What a turn of events of things we're talking about today.
I don't even know how we got here, and that's why
I don't know.
To get to.
Whatever.
We will get to what the Suns maybe should do at this fork in the road moment, as well as what are we waiting for here as we go. But let's start with, Ben, what I think is becoming, as I just called it, a fork in the road. I kind of laid it out a little bit yesterday at the very end of the show, and we'll just pick basically right back up there where I said, I am all for the Suns seeing this through, but we don't know what the end of seeing this era through necessarily is, and that is kind of a moving target. And it feels like where we're sitting now, we're recording this Tuesday at 5. I know this is your first deadline doing the show with me, Ben. I get very anxious this time of year if these shows are even going to go up. I'm like, could we get through this and then something happens? I don't know. But where we're sitting right now is that, and you just tell me if you agree with this framing and we'll go from there. It feels like it is get Jimmy Butler or lose Kevin Durant.
Yeah. That's what it feels like it is. And I disagree with that idea, that model. I think that they need to just pick one. And I don't even know how far you want me to go at this point, but I think it's.
Well, we'll talk about what they should do next, right? Like,
well, no, of course, but
yeah.
It's like the Jimmy Butler or Kevin Durant thing, it just feels like a week ago, 2 weeks ago when they made the trade, right? It was like, oh, they're definitely getting Jimmy Butler. And now we're 2 weeks away and we're like, oh, no, they actually might trade Kevin Durant. That is a complete 180 that I was not expecting to. I was talking to someone today because it's Radio Row, but a lot of other chatter goes around. And they said, hey, so what do you think about Kevin Durant? You're going to have to record a podcast here if he gets traded? And I was like, possibly. Like, I will if I have to, but I don't want to. I'd rather do it at my Airbnb. And I go, but there's no way he gets traded. There's no chance. I go, I'd put everything on it. He doesn't get traded. And then there was a few more reports today. And the one that got me the most ears perked up a bit was Gambo's. Gambo does not say things unless he has a hunch. And the fact that we went from Jimmy Butler or KD, it feels like they're posturing us for that complete 180, which is Kevin Durant potentially being traded. And, we'll talk about if it's the right decision, but I'm just surprised how we got here.
Yeah, I think the how and why we got here is where we should stick here, because it's not just guessing. It's also important, if this does happen, to understand why. And so, you and I have been sending stuff we see on Twitter and online back and forth this whole week. And I sent you a few things. We'll get to Gambo's, but yesterday we didn't talk about this. We just talked about Jake Fisher reporting that this Warriors specifically, this connection was real, that not only were the Suns listening, the Warriors were very determined to get this done. And the way that Jake Fisher had framed it was that KD was at least aware that those conversations were happening. We still don't exactly know, and there's been some noise about if KD's open to this. I don't know. Nobody really can know until it probably happens. But Chris Mannix added, but honestly, this was out before we even recorded yesterday, but he said basically the same thing. The Warriors are indeed serious about reuniting with KD, and with efforts to acquire Jimmy Butler stalled, rival execs believe the Suns are strongly considering Durant deals before the deadline. And Chris Mannix has covered the NBA for a very long time. He writes at SI. He's a guy that knows what he's talking about. And then there's some other stuff, some chatter, maybe some less, concrete reporters that, we don't have to pull their every word. But then Gambo, like 3 hours ago on his radio show, said, if the Phoenix Suns miss out on Jimmy Butler and flop in the postseason once again, Gambo doesn't think Kevin Durant will be on the roster when training camp starts next season. I mean, that is about as point blank as it can be. I will maintain that I don't think the Warriors are the team. If I could pick in a perfect scenario, if I'm facing down the idea that the Suns are not going to have Kevin Durant on their team anymore, the Warriors are not the team that I like the package of the best, but that's not always how this stuff works. It's not always getting the best package. And I guess where I come down and what I'm left sort of wondering, Ben, and what I'll throw back to you is, do you think we're in this situation where we agree that this is the kind of crossroads that they're at? Is that because the Suns feel like if they can't get Jimmy Butler, that is the last opportunity to keep this era of this team competitive, and they're just saying, we might as well say screw it if we can't get Jimmy, and there's no other choice, no other move to be made? Or is this Kevin Durant saying and putting pressure and saying, if you can't get him, that may make me change my position on staying here? Which side of that do you fall on?
I fall on the side of Kevin Durant will not stay here if Jimmy Butler doesn't come. And I think it's becoming more likely, which is crazy, man. Keeps going up and down, of if Jimmy Butler is going to end up being a member of the Phoenix Suns. And you're just like, at what point am I just like, no, like he's just not going to be? And I think that the talks have stalled so badly to where the Phoenix Suns are feeling some pressure from KD, whether it's right or not. The Suns have been on the right side of it. The Suns have been on the wrong side of it. But as I'm literally saying this to you right now, apparently there's an Athletic piece that is saying the Mavs and Rockets are both eyeing a Kevin Durant trade. Dallas dreams of pairing Durant with Kyrie and AD. So why is all this getting out? Was it ammunition from the Dallas Mavericks to, I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
It's weird because
It's got to be some sort of KD, man. It's got to be
started to hear and see online, like the minute that Luka got traded, it was like, what does this mean for KD? And I was sitting there like, nothing. What are you talking about? Like, what is even? And I still don't really understand that. I don't understand the answer to that question. I mean, I can look at it from the standpoint of saying that the Mavs staying afloat at the very least for this season, the Lakers, adding a generational star that's going to keep them relevant and near the top of the West for years to come, and the Spurs basically putting their poker chips in the middle of the table and saying, like, we're here now. We're not waiting anymore for Vic to develop. Why you could look at that and be a little bit like, damn, the West just kind of improved around us if you're Matt Ishbia. I get that side of it, but the idea of like is KD somehow, I can't connect those dots. I really don't get why whatever happened with Luka and LA suddenly is affecting this. Do you have even like a hypothesis on that? I don't understand why those things started to come out the minute that the other thing happened. You're muted. You're muted.
Of course I am. I don't know why that came out, but I do have an idea of what you just said as well. That I think Kevin Durant saw the landscape of the Western Conference, saw the Spurs get better, saw the Mavericks get better, like for now, like just in the very minimal future when AD comes back. And even everyone's getting stacked. The Lakers I think he's just like, yeah, we're not going to win here. And after losing back-to-back games to the Trailblazers, I think it's a little bit Kevin Durant, and I think it is a little bit the Suns. And I think the Suns are like, we're ready to move on. KD might be ready to move on. Let's just do this and try to play nice and try to get the best package. But I have a really bad feeling that the Suns might trade KD, and you and I are both going to say, what the hell did they just get back for him? A first-round pick and Kuminga and
Gary just to say the Warriors package again, it's probably 4 firsts. They have all their firsts to trade. I mean, maybe. We'll see. But that's what they could do. 25, 27, 29, 31. The next 2, 25, 27, Steph and Katie would both still be very good. So those are useless to me. I don't really care. And then, Wiggins, Kuminga, Peyton, Looney. That's basically, it kind of has to be those 4 players. There's a little bit of noise that Draymond could be available from Brian Windhorst. I don't think that that's going to happen. So that's what you're looking at.
What are we going to do with Draymond?
One last thing, and then two things, and then we can move on to what they should do on the note of how we got here. So, one, I think it's important to remember what KD said the minute that he was asked about Luka after that Portland game on Saturday night. He said, this just shows, and Giannis said something very similar, that when we all are up in arms about players not having loyalty, remember this as an example of when teams don't either. So if you hear rumors such and such player might leave and we all get mad, the Mavs cut bait on a beloved franchise icon at a moment's notice. It's weird that KD would say that and then also do that.
Is it weird? Is it weird?
Maybe it lines up, or maybe it is. Time will tell. Whatever actually ends up happening, I guess we'll maybe be able to make better sense of what he said that night. But I'm just putting that back out there. Let me just throw this your way. I'll start the next segment here because it's kind of getting toward what they should do. So let's talk about how things could fare the next less than 48 hours while we're sitting here now. Jimmy Butler still on the table. Suddenly, KD leaving, also on the table. What should happen next? First, today's show is brought to you by Gametime, the best place to buy any ticket if you're looking for tickets to your next big event, whether that be a concert, comedy show, sports game, or anything else. Finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache, but with Gametime Picks, it's never been easier. Let's talk a little bit about how it works. With Gametime Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals so you do not have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. We've been in love with Gametime Picks and Gametime in general on the Locked On Podcast Network for a while now. It is no secret we are all massive sports fans. I know many of you are as well. I am also a big I like to go to shows. I like to see concerts. Not always the fancy stuff, but just I want to go see this. I might not have remembered and bought tickets at the right time. Gametime always has me covered. And with Gametime Picks, the best deal, the best value is right up top. So I don't have to waste my time. Forget even wasting my time searching. Sometimes it's like, all right, I'm just not going. Or I open it and it's like, well, heck yeah, that's an awesome deal. I'm going to go. And most of the time, it's that. You get the best deal and you say, wow, okay, I guess I'm going. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Alrighty, Ben. We're covering a lot of ground here. Let's keep it moving. As far as what the Suns should do, what I was going to say at the end of that last segment that I will just give you as a question is, do you think it's Warriors or nothing here? If you think about teams that would be motivated to give up things in the middle of the season, which is rare, even though the Luka thing just happened, this is rare. KD was basically, when he came to Phoenix, that was kind of the only example you could really point to in recent history until Luka. Who would be motivated to do that? And where would KD actually like to end up? Because this is still Kevin Durant. You're not just going to go get him if you're the Charlotte Hornets. So are you thinking of this as Hornets? Now I'm thinking of the Hornets. Warriors, or he stays? Or do you think, you mentioned Houston, Dallas, whatever, do you think other teams could get in on this before it's all said and done? You're muted.
Son of a gun, dude. Twice in one podcast. It should not necessarily at all. I think it should be a bidding war. I think Kevin Durant should have a list of teams that he's willing to go to if he's going to work with the Suns on this, and the Suns are going to work with him. And whoever has the best package, man. I mean, who wouldn't want to have Kevin Durant? It's not me thinking that he's not going to be a hot commodity on the market, but the Rockets, the Mavs would make sense.
Well, Houston is a good example of a team where they keep telling everybody in terms of reporters and insiders,
and they have the Suns.
We don't want to do anything. We don't want to break this up. We're ahead of schedule. We want to wait it out. Like, that's a kind of team that I'm thinking of when I say, are they going to be motivated to break down a team that is overachieving just to go all in for a mid-30s superstar? That's kind of exactly the team I'm thinking of when I say, like, are they going to get in the mix right now, or would they wait until the offseason? Like, I don't know how many other teams would want to go for it right now, except the Warriors, who are also like around 500 and kind of at a crossroads of their own, you know?
I do think regardless that any one of those teams would want KD. If you're saying in terms of, is the best package likely going to be the Warriors? Probably. I just don't know who the Mavericks would give up. Like, let's just,
Yeah.
And it's an athletic piece, and I haven't even read the article. I just saw the headline, and but it says
so
that's
the
their
Mavs
dream,
you're
right?
probably talking about. I mean, Lively. It has to be Lively, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but
he's
where's the
best
money
young
coming
player.
from?
Yeah, it would be. I'm trying to think off the top of my head who makes money,
Because they
there.
just
So,
traded Grimes today, who made a decent amount.
PJ Washington. Grimes doesn't make any money yet. He will. So PJ Washington makes a little bit of money there. Clay makes a little bit of money there.
Oh,
Najee
God.
Marshall. It would be tough to stack. You're
It would likely
challenge
be
on that.
you're not trading Clay. You just signed him. There's no shot. So it would be a God, what was the player you just PJ Washington? No, there's no way, man. There's no way the Mavericks are giving up PJ Washington and Derek Lively for Kevin Durant. I mean, that is
Well, so okay, so then Houston, you're talking about as far as the money, it's Van Vliet.
Yep.
Van Vliet's coming back, and then I think Amen Thompson's untouchable. So people have talked about Şengün.
Jabari
He's about to
Smith?
get
I don't know.
expensive. Jalen Green doesn't fit. Jabari Smith, sure, maybe. Reed Shepard's in
Şengün,
the
there's
G
no
League.
way. Şengün's an all-star. There's no way they get rid of him. I think we're looking at the Warriors thing makes no sense because you have to pay Kuminga. If the Suns trade for Jonathan Kuminga, that is the one where I will, unless they get like a haul of picks, 4 first and like whatever, then at that point we'll figure it out. But Kuminga is, I mean, the guy makes the guy is going to make a ton of money soon. I would assume he's
going
going
make
to
more than what Wiggins makes now, which is like 26. You know,
He can't do that. Like you
You're
already got enough
suddenly, very
overpaid.
quickly, you're going to have Kuminga and Wiggins making more than KD makes now, if you add them together. And they would both be under contract for multiple seasons.
Then
So you're
potentially
not, the point I'm making is you're not going to get cheaper with that deal, which is
No,
one of the other things you might
exactly.
like to do if you're going to trade Durant, is to say, okay, let's try to get out of this apron crap. Let's take a step back here. You know, whatever.
regroup.
That deal doesn't do that for you.
It's why it's got to be some surprise. I don't know, man. The more you and I talk about it, the more I'm like, there's no way they're trading him. Like there's no way they would make a trade that dumb.
So I don't think it won't happen, but I would agree I don't think it should happen. I would wait till the end of the season. But
Me too.
the other part of should is Butler.
Yeah.
If that is what it takes to at least extend this situation, are you still now, like, because it's almost like this thing of now where it's in the ether that Durant's future is in question. It's sort of like, can you even do the Butler thing, even if that's in theory what makes him happy, when you don't know how long, or whatever side it is, even if it's the Suns maybe that are getting cold feet about this thing, is Butler really enough to make you sure that you're going to stay content with this team if you're Matt Ishbia? Like, it just feels crazy that they're going to go ahead and go get Jimmy Butler now that all of this has kind of been thrown into doubt. Is he going to come in and save everything? That's crazy. Not even just on the court, but now you're talking about like everybody's feelings are all jumbled up. And what is Jimmy going to just be so incredible that everything goes away? That's impossible.
And it goes back to the what should the Suns do? If you're asking between two different things, Jimmy Butler or KD, like you trade KD and you don't get Jimmy Butler, or you get Jimmy Butler and you keep KD. I think it's pretty clear. There's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. Once the trade rumors start to come out, and Kevin Durant is obviously aware of them, they've said that before, and that teams are actively calling for Kevin Durant, I think we're at the beginning of the end. I don't think you can put the toothpaste back in the tube. I think we are reading the final chapter of what was a mostly failed experiment for the Phoenix Suns Big Three. And I didn't expect them to get 0 playoff wins, not even a playoff series win. They got 0 playoff wins. They didn't win a singular one together. And so
it would be only 6 with KD, 6 playoff wins with Durant.
It would be, I guess. Yeah, because they won the Clippers one, and then they won 2 against the Nuggets, and then so they haven't won a playoff game so that would be 2 years at that point. And so yeah, if it's me, there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. There's no, in my opinion, making amends. Not that there necessarily needs to make amends, but just trying to put the lid back on this thing. I think it's just time you move on.
Right? Is like, well, you just said they shouldn't trade him, so is it just a matter? So then that, but
No.
that's
No. You don't trade him now. I think you wait till the offseason and you trade him.
So what does that look like in a month? You guys are all, not you guys, but the team.
Write it out, man.
Getting ready for the play-in, and you all know it's about to be over. What is that? I mean, what do you do with that?
What do you do with it? I don't know. Nothing. Nothing. I mean, what do you do now?
Asking for everybody to hate each other in a month or two, because you're just saying, hey, you guys suck, basically, and we don't really believe in this. But just go out there and do your jobs, and you won't be here.
Get out there and do your jobs. I mean,
I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm just saying that sounds pretty miserable.
It does sound pretty miserable. You know what else is pretty miserable? Losing back-to-back games to the Trailblazers on the road when this was supposed to be the easy part of your schedule. Like, at this point, I don't really care about their comfort. I am not going to sell the Suns future short because Kevin Durant is upset or someone else is upset. Like, I'm over that. I'm over feelings. And like, if they get Jimmy Butler, sure, it might be fun, but even from the beginning, you and I are like, he's not fixing this team. So if we know that they're going to get Jimmy Butler and they're going to move on from Kevin Durant regardless, like, my dream scenario would be trading for Jimmy Butler and letting both guys walk, because then you're getting like $100 million freed up in cap situation.
Let Jimmy walk? I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But obviously you can't do that either. You're not doing that.
No. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting to, is like, if you know that this thing's headed toward the end, then the Jimmy thing is just like, why are we even talking about it?
Mm-hmm.
What's even the point?
Exactly. That's my point. Because I don't remember the last time a team was talking about trade rumors, real trade rumors, concrete, evident trade rumors that everyone knew. And then that team went on to win 3 straight playoff series. Like, not even win the finals, just make the finals. Like, that doesn't happen. And so the Suns might just be ready to just take it on the chin, realize they were wrong, and that was okay. I don't fault the Suns for being aggressive. Sometimes you swing and a miss. And it's looking like the Suns are going to miss. I just can't believe we're at the point now where we're talking about trading Kevin Durant. I thought that would be more for the offseason. I'm more worried about what you and I are going to talk about, Brendon. We got a show to do.
Ryan Dunn, I guess, or something.
I guess Ryan Dunn, yeah.
Andrew Wiggins, maybe. All right.
Oh, God.
This is a whole lot of hypothetical. All of the teams in the marketplace are now seemingly circling the same players. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen next? What are we looking for? First, today's show is brought to you by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on identifying the positive signs in our relationship, those green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy for yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on you, therapy can help form relationships that love you back. Again, BetterHelp is big on therapy. Does not need to be an emergency, does not need to be life or death. It does not need to be anything extreme. It can just be about building those green flags with people around you, with you and yourself, or just setting healthy boundaries, improving communication, the basics of everyday life. BetterHelp makes it easy to do all of that by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And if you need to switch therapists at any time, you can do so at no additional cost. So discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp by visiting BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, wrapping up the show. Don't forget to sign up for the Locked On Suns daily newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. Put your email address in there. It is free. You get great content, and it supports us big time. Okay, Ben.
You want some trade news? Have you been on Twitter in the last couple of minutes?
I was setting up my audio and video, as you know, for like 20 minutes and getting very frustrated. I don't know where my phone is.
No.
So no.
Oh, so Stephen Bullpit, he is a columnist at Heavy on Sports. He is reporting, and this is and I wouldn't just put out a random person out there. You and I have guys that we trust, so I'll get to that in a second. The Phoenix Suns are working to complete a Yusuf Nurkic for Jonas Valanciunas trade per this guy. And I was like, whatever, it's some random person. Gambo quote tweeted that and said, not done, but possible, but would be tied to a bigger trade. Suns would have to give up a pick on this, so it would be a part of a bigger deal. Suns not really interested in Jonas and Valanciunas. So I'm only saying that because he's saying bigger trade.
So he's saying the Suns wouldn't actually be the team to take Valanciunas back.
It doesn't seem like it. And so that's where the point where, like, I'm not trying to say this is a Nurkic for Jonas swap. It looks like it could be a bigger deal.
Well, that makes sense because what I was going to say when you first dropped it is, why on earth, after everything we just talked about, would the Suns be trying to get a
the reasoning why is
35-year-old center, right?
And the reasoning why is there have been just reports from people on Twitter that I'm not sure I trust, but those rumblings out there that the Warriors, Wizards, Suns, and some other team are working on some 4 deal, and you piece that 4-way team deal.
So that's exactly it, right? Like, just to say the teams. The Wizards element of it is that Kuzma has been linked to Milwaukee. Kuzma also was linked to Dallas last year, which is hilarious. He vetoed a trade there, and then they made the finals. That's just a hilarious nugget I always like to recall. So that's there. Obviously, we've talked about Milwaukee with Butler, Milwaukee with Beal. That's kind of all lingering. The Warriors not only have been thrown in the KD conversations, but they also may still have interest in Jimmy Butler, their own. So that obviously brings us to the Heat. Mm-hmm. The Wizards are whatever, but that's just to give some context for people of why that makes sense. Plus, they're a seller. They're like the worst team in the NBA, and they have some vets that teams might want. So you're going to hear some offshoot teams like that, but the teams that I was talking about are really the Bucks, the Warriors, the Suns, and the Heat. Those 4 teams, maybe you throw a Philly, a Washington, whatever. That's what I'm looking at. And so neither of us know anything. We're not like on the phone with Danny Ainge or whatever you want to throw. But like, do you think this is all just going to happen Thursday, rapid fire, right at the deadline?
Not at the deadline.
Because something has to happen for somebody. If we're talking about the Suns, get Jimmy or move KD. Well, when do you decide? When do you pick one? That's what I'm wondering here.
I think they already have an agreed upon trade. I don't know if it's KD. I don't know if it's Jimmy. I think all teams, the Suns, the Heat, Warriors, everyone is holding out until the last minute because what would be the good of just giving up things when you don't have to? Everyone's trying to play chicken. We've all negotiated before. It's like this.
Have you? I've never negotiated before.
You've never negotiated?
What have you negotiated about?
I was just about to get into.
Tell me.
That's interesting that you haven't done that. So it's like this, right? One time I walked into a dealership with my wife. We were looking to get a car. And I showed up there and I told the person, let's just throw out a number. It was 20,000, just throwing out a random number. And I was like, I like it, but I like it better for 18,000. And that guy said, no, I'm good. And so my wife said, come on, it's just 2,000. Like, let's just do it. And I'm like, what does it matter? If the car's here tomorrow, I like the car, I'll pay 20 grand for it. But if it's here tomorrow, we'll do it. If it's not, it's not. We went home the very next day. I called the guy and I said, hey man, I don't really want to drive all the way out to Gilbert to look at a car. You feeling like coming down to 18? He goes, if you come down here today, would you do it for 18? There it is. And I got a car for less than I would have because I waited until the last moment, put a little bit of pressure on the other teams. And I think that's as well that I've done that before. I guess you haven't done that, but teams will do that where it's like, why the Heat in their aspect is like, why would I just give up Jimmy? Like I could just let him walk. If I have a deal I
agree, they're not
I'll just
in a
wait.
hurry. Miami's
That's
in
what I'm
no hurry.
saying. That's what I mean by that. So
but
I
do
do
the
think
buyers are, right? Like the teams.
But
trying,
where are the Suns going to go? I'm sure the Suns have other deals, and I think Gamble reported this as well. They have deals already kind of in place if Butler doesn't happen. But I mean, I don't know what to believe at this point, but I think that's where it's at. I think teams.
That's what's so weird, right? Because it's like, well, I would think that the deals would be different if it's no Butler. The deals are different if you keep KD versus if you don't, right? Like Valanciunas is a perfect example. Maybe Valanciunas I don't like him really, but like maybe he makes some sense if KD's still on the team. But if you don't get Butler and Durant's gone, I don't need, what do I need Jonas Valanciunas on the Suns for?
Yeah. Hey, can we also just say this really quickly? A lot of our Suns fans remember Jonas Valanciunas from the 2022 playoffs where he was actually pretty good and worked 8 net times. He is not that guy anymore, guys. He is on the Wizards.
Has been a playoff player in his entire life. So
there's that as well.
The Raptors won the championship by benching him and trading him.
Yeah, by going and getting old man Marc Gasol and winning the championship. So there's a lot
was right that the Suns wouldn't even be the team getting him. But that's just one example.
He would be a worse fit than Nurkic, man. Like he doesn't do anything well.
And that's just one example of what I'm saying, where everything changes depending on what direction they go, and there's only so much time. So if you let's say Jimmy gets traded at noon Arizona time on Thursday to the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have to talk about Durant to other teams by then.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a world Durant gets traded at 2. Now you have an hour. You got to talk about Nurkic, Grayson Allen, whatever. It's just it's weird to say, but it's like maybe I'm just over exaggerating it. But the timing of it feels like it's just getting really, really close. So I think what I would say, my guess would be that the Warriors seem to be the most aggressive mover right now. They seem to be the team that everybody is reporting. They're calling about Zion. They're calling about LaMelo Ball. They're calling about KD.
I saw a report that said that they have called for every star in the NBA.
Yeah. So it feels to me like that's going to be what happens first. If I had to guess something, I would say whatever the Warriors are going to do, whether it is getting Butler themselves, whether it's getting somebody we're not even thinking about, whatever it might be, or Durant, if it gets to that, that's going to be what happens first, would be my guess. And then everything will go from there.
Let's wrap it up with this as I take hold of the show. Percentage chance Kevin Durant gets traded, and what's the percentage chance Butler gets traded to the Suns?
Butler 10.
Oh wow!
I just don't think that's happening. What do you think, Butler?
No, go finish. That's fine.
KD. For now, I'll say 35.
Wow, jersey number. I think both are 50-50 at this point. I'm like 50-50. Jimmy's going to come here. I'm 50-50, if that makes sense, that one of those deals is going to happen. The Suns get Jimmy or the Suns trade KD. So I'm putting those two together, and I'm 50% they'll just do like a minor deal, and it's just trading Nurkic. But according to my sources, the Suns are expected to be very active at the trade deadline. Very active.
Here first, folks.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Absolutely.
That will wrap us up. Suns Thunder coming up on Wednesday. And by the way, Kevin Durant is doubtful. We didn't mention that.
Oh my God, how did we miss that? Okay, quickly. Something or not something?
He did. People noticed that he was moving a little awkwardly last night. So I will say not something. I will stand by the fact that is almost always not something.
Well, I saw the play where he kind of tweaked. I think it was his ankle. But he is closing in on 30,000 points, so I was kind of hoping he would do that in a Suns uniform, but it's potential he might. Is a potential he might not now.
Mention that. That would be such a bummer if he didn't
would it
do
be
it in a Suns uniform.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. I just got annoyed and I'll tell you off the air, but I just read a vague tweet from another person trying to act like they have sources, and it just pissed me off.
All right, we will be back here after that game, or if anything happens before then, some emergency bonus content coming your way. Hit follow or subscribe if you have not already. Become an everydayer. We are here for you no matter what, even if things go a little south for the rest of the season. We will be talking about Ryan Dunn, and we'll be thrilled to do so. So hopefully you'll join us. Enjoy the Wednesday. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you after.